besides the school, I've had enough for today. I hit the radio dial and turn it up all the way. I'm playing UK hockey fan. UK hockey fan.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to the UK Hockey Fan Podcast. I'm Shane.
And I'm Finn.
And we're back with a bumper episode. I'm so excited. There's so much to talk about, huh, Finn?
Yeah, there's loads to talk about. We have the Muzzin signing, which happened right after the last episode we recorded.
Yep.
And we got loads of other things to talk about, including the coronavirus.
Yep, coronavirus is affecting hockey as it is most other things. So we're talking about the NHL. There's Leafs games to talk about. Loads of stuff that we that happened since we were last on. But I wanted to start off with a couple words about the passing of one of my huge hockey heroes from when I was a kid, the Pocket Rocket.
Yeah, I've heard great things about him. I know that sounds really weird, but I mean, I didn't grow up with him. I know you did.
Yep.
But I've heard he was an amazing player, and I do know he holds a big record in the NHL.
And so I think that even young people probably, if they're into hockey, will know the name Maurice Richard, right? Rocket Richard.
Yep.
And he is also the sort of one of the main characters in the movie The Hockey Sweater. Is about this kid's obsession with Rocket Richard. And so lots of kids will have grown up knowing who he is. But Henri Richard, they called the Pocket Rocket because he was slightly smaller, not as tough, a little faster, and a little younger. And he played for the Habs as well. And I remember him as being just this amazing player. And we were lucky enough when we went to the Hockey Hall of Fame to see his jersey there. Yep. And they have that, we talked about this on a previous episode, they have a mock-up of the Canadiens' dressing room around the time of these guys. And it's sort of a mixed match because they put just some really cool jerseys in there together who wouldn't have been playing at the same time together. So Dryden's jersey's in there, Patrick Waugh's jersey's in there. Yep. But also in there was Rocket Richards and Henri Richards and people like Howie Morenz and things like that. And I just remember seeing that Henri Richard jersey. And so Henri Richard was still with us up until about a week ago, which is amazing. He was a great, great hockey player. And one of his main record was he won, I believe, more Stanley Cups than any other player.
Yeah, wasn't it 11?
11 Stanley Cups the guy won.
That's almost more than the Leafs.
11 Stanley Cups. Just let that sink in, right?
That's crazy.
I mean, loads of people are still, loads of players have been playing for a really long time or can put in a whole career and never touch that cup. And Henri Richard won that cup 11 times. And so, I just wanted to kick off tonight's episode. He was a big part of my childhood. One of the inspirations for what turned out for me to be a lifetime of playing hockey. Very sad news in the passing of Henri Richard, 11 Stanley Cup winner, amazing player, and a Hall of Famer.
No, yeah.
Right, so on that sort of sad note, we should move on to talking about maybe catching up with Leafs.
So do you want to carry on? Do you want to carry on the sad note?
well, yeah, okay, all right, yeah. What do you got?
All right. Well, we may as well start off almost in chronological order here. So as I said earlier, the Muzzin was re-signed.
Yeah, that's right.
Straight after we finished recording our podcast, I was holding my laptop and it came through as a notification on my phone, just as we were literally finishing up.
Oh, yeah. Do you know what? Just before you go on, I got to say this because I'm going to forget it otherwise.
Oh, yeah, go for it.
There's 2 Maple Leaf birthdays today.
Okay.
Reilly.
Morgan Reilly, yeah.
Morgan Reilly's birthday today. Happy birthday. And on the same day, I believe, if Instagram is to be believed, and I think this is from the Leafs official feed, also Rasmus Sandin.
Rasmus Sandin.
Yeah.
Wow.
Both of them born on the same day today. Happy birthday to those
Both
guys.
of them amazing defensemen.
So, skipping back to the Muzzin thing, the Muzzin news came right at the same time and during all the end of the trade deadline and everything else.
Yep.
Where we let a couple people go.
Yes.
And so it was great news. It's always great news to see a contract getting extended as well.
Yeah.
Especially someone badass like Jake Muzzin.
Yeah, no, he's been an amazing part to the team this year, especially. And he's had I'm pretty sure he had like a up and down career with the LA Kings. But when he came to Toronto, hometown guy and that, he's been playing amazing. And
he's not hometown guy though. Is he? No, isn't he from? Isn't he? Didn't we talk about this before? Isn't he the Woodstock guy?
Yeah, I
Woodstock,
think so.
yeah?
Yeah,
I think so.
one of them. It's either it's Tavares or Muzzin. We always get mixed up.
Tavares is a Toronto guy. That's why they call him Johnny Toronto.
Yeah,
So Tavares is a Toronto guy. I'm pretty sure Muzzin is a Woodstock guy.
I mean he was a Leafs fan when he grew up. It's kind of the same.
He is, right. I'm looking him up.
And anyway, so Muzzin was signed 4 years for 5.625 million on average per year.
Wow.
So it's not too bad,
That is not too shabby.
and he's been playing pretty good.
He deserves it.
And then literally after the next game they played, Muzzin was injured, which is always great,
That is not great.
especially after you just re-sign
You
him.
just had your contract extended.
Instantly get injured.
Yeah, that sucks. He is the Woodstock guy.
He is, yeah.
Born in Woodstock, Ontario, Canada. Former home of my mum and your grandmother.
Yep.
Right, so Muzzin, contract re-signed. Should we jump onto some of the Leafs scores?
Yeah. So
By the way,
yeah, go.
Cliffy's on later.
Yes.
So I don't want to dwell too long before we get him on, but he's got some amazing news. Probably the best thing that could possibly happen for Scott in his UK hockey world has happened in the last 24 hours, so I can't wait to get him on. Anyway, back to the Leafs.
So let's go into the Leafs game versus Tampa Bay.
Yep.
So the Leafs ended up winning 4-3. And I'm gonna try and figure this out. Okay,
So this is the Florida road trip.
Yeah, just look over my shoulder a second.
Yeah.
No, here.
Oh.
Look at the spreadsheet that it's just given me of when I've asked for the games.
This is the first episode where we're recording live on video as well, so you can see how ridiculously goofy we are and how ill prepared we are to
got
do
it.
these things.
Okay, I got the number one. Okay.
Okay.
So in the first period, the first goal is scored by Nikita Kucherov
Right.
for the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Yep.
Then next goal, ironically, Jake Muzzin scores a sixth goal with assist going to Jason Spezza and Freddie Gauthier.
Yep.
Then John Tavares scores his 25th with assist going to Tyson Barrie and Austin Matthews on the power play. This is 2-1 at the end of the first period. And then the Tampa Bay Lightning come back to make it 2-2 at the start of the second.
Yep.
John Tavares scores his second of the game with assist going to William Nylander, making it 3-2. William Nylander then scores himself with assist going to Mitch Marner and Tyson Barrie. And then Tampa Bay score early in this third, but then can't score another. And therefore, we win 4-3.
Fantastic. Yeah, we needed that win. So we're on a Florida road trip at this stage. So Tampa first up. Next up, Panthers. Was it Panthers next?
Panthers? Let me just check. I think
so.
it was,
Well,
yeah.
It must have been if we're in a Florida road trip.
Yep.
And so how'd we get on with that game?
So we ended up winning the game away.
Yeah, totally successful road trip.
Which is really, really good for us because we are fighting Florida for the third in the division.
Yep. Clinging on.
Yeah, and this was an away game as well, which is always good. So Florida score first, 2 minutes into the first period, to make it 1-0. Zach Hyman comes back to make it 1-1 just over a minute later.
Nice to see a goal from Zach here then.
Yeah, with assist going to Austin Matthews and Justin Hall. Then, same in the first period, 2 goals come from Florida to make it 3-1. Kasperi Kapanen comes back with assist going to Jason Spezza and Alex Kerfoot. Austin Matthews then scores his 44th of the season, with assist going to Mitch Marner and Zach Hyman. And then no goals in the second period, and 2 goals by the Leafs, one going to William Nylander, assist going to Kyle Clifford and Martin Marincin. And final goal, which was the empty net goal that you saw, where he just shot it from his own end and it went in. This is Justin Hall with assist going to John Tavares.
Fantastic. Yeah, great game. A great series of Florida games there. 2 quick wins and then away to San Jose, I believe.
No, so San Jose was San Jose is the one after.
Oh, sorry,
So
Canucks.
This is our final win against the Canucks before we.
Yeah. God, that's a trip, right? So that geographically, were they at home? Were we home to Canucks then?
Let me just check.
Because that. So whether we were at home or not, I think geographically That is the furthest
No,
distance.
no. We were at home for
We were
the
at home.
Canucks game.
But if we had gone to Canucks, that's geographically the furthest distance between two teams, I believe. So the likes of either Florida Panthers or Tampa Bay. If you think about their geography, they are in the southeast of America.
Yep.
And Vancouver is in the northwest of Canada. And so that distance is thousands and thousands of miles. But anyway, playing at home, so it's still a long way back home. I made the drive in a car from Toronto to Florida several times in my life. And,
that's a road trip right there.
It's swapping drivers and driving straight. It's well over 20 hours of driving. So back to Toronto we are against Vancouver Canucks.
Yeah, so in the first period, 2 minutes in, they score first with Freddie the Goat. With assist going to Tyson Barrie and Rasmus Sandin, as you just mentioned. Happy birthday to him.
Yeah.
Then the Vancouver Canucks come back to make it 1-1, still in the first period.
Yep.
A minute later, Austin Matthews, after that goal, Austin Matthews comes back, scores 45th goal, with assist going to Travis Dermott. Then Vancouver bring it back to a tie at the end of the first period. No goals in the second period. And 2 goals by the Leafs in the third period, 1 by Martin Marincin, assist going to John Tavares and Tyson Barrie, and 1 to Zach Hyman, with assist going to Mitch Marner and Travis Dermott. Make it 4-2.
And so bang, 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 3 quick wins there for us, which were desperately needed, as you mentioned, clinging on to that third place in the Atlantic, behind Tampa Bay, actually, and Boston still holding on to first, but we're squashed in between the two Florida teams there, so it was great to get that win. And Habs creeping up too in 5th place at the moment, I just noticed.
They seem to be doing well recently too.
So that game then followed on to the San Jose game.
And this is the California road trip.
Right, okay. That's another longie.
That's
heading out to the other coast, so south to the other coast.
So in the first period, the San Jose Sharks score first to make it 1-0. And then at the start of the second period, we have a goal by Austin Matthews, his 46th goal, with assist going to Martin Marincin. And then the San Jose Sharks come back to make it 2-1. And then at the end of the second period, Mitch Marner scores his 16th of the year. Ironic, he's number 16.
Yeah.
And Matthews gets his 33rd, almost 34th assist. And the other assist goes to Calle Rosen, acquired from the trade deadline. So it's a 2-2 at the end of the second. And then San Jose scored 3 straight goals. And we ended up losing 5-2. So that didn't end well, to be honest. So and that Mitch Marner goal, by the way, is the one where he put it. What was it? He put the puck through his own legs and backhanded it top corner right in front of the goal. I don't know if you've seen that going around the GIF and stuff. So that was the big Marner goal there. So the first game of the California road trip, we lost 5-2 to the San Jose Sharks, who are not doing very well. For context here,
no,
they're not doing well this season at all.
No, and which is the story of our season, right? To play away play 3 great games to good solid teams, win all 3 games, and then lose to someone like the San Jose Sharks.
Exactly, and it doesn't stop there, because we go to the LA Kings, who also haven't had a great season at all. Not a great team, to be honest, in general.
Maybe it's the heat.
The heat
at this time of year, right? So they're leaving Toronto, where it's well below 0, and heading down to California, where it's nice and warm. Maybe it's the heat. Maybe it's something about that.
Maybe.
I doubt it. I think it's just just Leafs roller coaster ride that is loving the Leafs. Right. Sorry.
Yeah. So I'm looking at the spreadsheet here for the game stats.
Right.
And there was no first, second, or third period because no one scored.
Yeah, it was a 0-0 game.
He literally came and said it was like a soccer game.
I use this as an example all the time. Reasons to not like soccer. Like a typical score is 0-0 or 1-0.
Yeah. It's so weird for that to happen in hockey ever.
Whereas hockey games, you'll have a game where it's like 6-5.
So
you've seen 11 amazing goals scored in 3 periods of hockey.
Exactly.
Regulation time 0-0.
It's so weird. And overtime 0-0.
Overtime 0-0.
So we go to the shootout, and I've got the full spreadsheet for this.
Yeah.
So the first shooter was from the LA Kings, Nikolai Prokhorkin. What a legendary last name that is, Prokhorkin.
Yeah, I just call him Corky.
Corky, Nikolai Corky.
No, just Corky.
Just Corky.
Hey, Corky.
And that was saved. And then Jason Spezza was the first shooter for the Maple Leafs, and that was saved.
Yep.
LA Kings, Michael Amadio, saved. Austin Matthews just missed the net. Always good to see.
No. Not good.
Andrei Kopitar of the LA Kings scores, followed by William Nylander, who also scores. Adrian Kempe from the LA Kings scores, and then Mitch Marner also misses the net.
Ugh, Mitchie.
So you have
Austin.
What do you have there? 13
Willie
plus
Nee
11.
comes through in the clutch.
Yeah. So you got about $25 million
Oh, don't even
salary
say,
right
don't
there,
say
who
that.
both missed
Yeah,
the net.
No, I don't want to think in terms of that.
At least Spezza hit the net.
Oh, God. No, it's rough. That's a terrible way to lose.
No, yeah. So the Leafs end up losing 1-0. However, we got a point.
Yes. Yeah, so shootout
And
loss is still a point, right?
Technically, it shows on Freddie Anderson's stats of him having a shutout.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll take that. We'll take whatever.
We'll take the fancy points. Am I right?
Yeah, we'll get onto that in a minute. Okay, so that's Kings, and then on to it's a California tour has to include the Ducks.
The Anaheim Ducks.
So it carries on. The misery continued.
I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of upset.
Lost to the Kings, lost to the Sharks, and Ducks.
We also lost. I mean, surprise, surprise. Did you know? Quick fact. So basically, in the first period, the Ducks scored to make it 1-0. No goals in the second period, and at the start of the third period, the Ducks score again. So the big stat here is that the Leafs went 134 minutes between scoring their last goal in game time.
That's ridiculous.
I mean, it's pretty crazy.
How many amazing forwards do you need to have?
I mean, as we just said, is $25 million in 2 players.
Awful. So 3 trip out to California.
No, come on.
Oh.
Come on, William Nylander, the absolute god that he is,
Yeah.
scores his 30th goal to at least get a goal in there,
Yeah.
and try and bring them back to life with 3 minutes left.
And couldn't do it.
No, I mean William Nylander can't carry the whole team.
Yeah, who'd have thunk it? So, yeah, three games in California, 3 losses, devastating off the back of 3 wins in a row. So this is the way Leafs are at the moment.
Yep.
It is literally up and down, and it's not just a nice smooth transition. It's screaming up and screaming down at the moment. It is just a tough time to be a Leafs fan. You just get your hopes up, and then the carpet gets snatched out from under you.
Yeah.
Like it has so many times.
I know. I'm pretty sure you got the standings up there.
Yeah, I do.
How close Florida to us, and how close are we to Tampa right now?
Yeah, so I mean, interestingly, the games played gap has closed up. So Tampa Bay and Toronto both played 69, and Florida are hot on our heels with 68. So they have 1 game in hand. So points going upwards is Florida on 29. Is this right? No, what am I saying? I'm looking at the wrong row. Florida on 76. Toronto on on 79.
I was gonna say 27. That's pretty mad right there.
And then a big gap to Tampa Bay, who are solidly sitting at 92 points, and then Boston in the top with 98. So it's really just Florida and us battling it out. 3 points separate us. There's games tonight. There's games all week. So Florida on 76, Toronto on 79. Montreal's creeping in there at 71. So it's still in
5
the running.
points in it between those.
But then a drop in a gap to Sabres, who are at 66 points. So they're not really.
They're not catching.
They're not going to catch. So, but it is tight between Florida and Toronto. So every game, every point counts from this point forward on. So it's a nail biter for sure.
Luckily, we do have some good news. So the Leafs next play Tampa Bay tomorrow night. So we're recording this Monday, and it's Tuesday at midnight.
Yeah.
So it'll be night in Canada too. It'll be Tuesday night in Canada.
That's right. So yeah, first thing Wednesday morning, that is for us.
Yeah, pretty much. But we do have good news going into the next few games.
Right.
So CC came back.
Oh, that's right.
So we got another defenseman back, which is great.
Desperately needed.
Muzzin is so in injury wise, Muzzin is out for 4 weeks.
That's right.
But he'll be back hopefully if we make the playoffs. Still, he'll be back for that. And Morgan Reilly and Ilya Mikheyev look to come back soon after participating in a full Maple Leafs practice.
Ooh, that's good news.
So Mikheyev, who was actually really, really good.
Yeah.
And he's got a small salary. And Reilly's Reilly, right? He's a really, really good player. And luckily we'll be having those guys back soon. But I wanted to point out, what are your thoughts on Jack Campbell so far?
Oh, I don't know. You tell me yours. They'll be more valid than mine.
So Jack Campbell's the new backup goalie we have.
Yeah.
I know we got rid of Clutch, and you and me saw Clutch live, and he was sick. He got the shutout and everything.
Awesome. I liked him as a player.
Yeah. He was just. I think the reason that they traded him, he was just too inconsistent for where we have to be right now. If we were a developing team,
or if it was earlier in the season,
in the season,
where it counted less.
So earlier in the season, he didn't get any wins, and he didn't have a great season at all.
No.
But he was coming back, but he's still inconsistent, which is why the Leafs just had to get a guy that they could rely on when either Freddie wasn't having a good night, or Freddie just wasn't up to it, or just he gets injured at the end of the season.
Yeah.
Or big thing with teams is that they just rest their starting goalie and a few of their players at the end of the season when they know they've clinched.
That's right.
So
what do you think?
A guy. I reckon that they just needed a guy that they could rely on, and Jack Campbell is really doing that for me.
Yeah, he is. Well, he's as solid as anybody that we've had playing for us this year. Who we could really use Ayres.
Dave Ayres, I mean, what a beast that guy is. And I actually do have some talk on emergency goalies that we can talk about later.
Okay, we'll get onto that maybe after Cliffy's
Yeah, but Jack Campbell, I think he's done really well so far. He's got a few wins under his belt with the Leafs, and intel is he's a really, really nice guy as well.
Yeah.
Apparently he's a really good locker room guy, which is always great, right?
Yeah,
you always
for
need guys to come back and just be great in the locker room, not only also on the ice,
Yeah, for sure.
And Kyle Clifford. Have you seen much of him? So Kyle Clifford is the big tough guy.
Yeah, so a bit of him on the highlights, but I haven't seen a lot of his gameplay since he's been around.
So he's been in 2 fights, and he's done pretty well, and he makes huge hits.
Yeah.
Which is always it's a guy that we've been saying, you and me have both been saying for seasons now, we need that guy. We had Polak for a bit, we had Martin for a bit.
Yeah.
Both those guys were so valuable to the team, but they just weren't good enough for the Leafs where they were at. I know your stance of Polak is a lot more positive than most people's.
Well,
I liked Polak too.
He's great.
But just for where the Leafs are at, and for the skill and talent that today's game is, I reckon Clifford, for being like a fourth line guy, to be there, a grinder, but also a super tough guy, and he's quick.
Yeah.
He's a really quick guy, and
big and quick is rare, right?
Exactly. I mean, I'm sitting right here, man.
Other than you.
Other than me.
Other maybe than you.
But yeah, he's also really impressed me. He's stuck up for the team. Another person stuck up for the team, Kasperi Kapanen, also very quick.
Yeah.
Quick guy, but he's really stepped up as well, which means I think that some teams are looking at the Leafs and thinking that they could get the what's it's been out of them,
Yep.
by some of the guys on our team, and that it just shows that we're not a team that will stand for anything kind of like that, and we will stick up for ourselves. So I just think these 2 signings, trades from Dubas, I reckon these are actually pretty good trades. I know they weren't on the trade deadline, they weren't big news when we were recording our last podcast, but these trades I think have really done well so far.
So yeah, I agree totally. And coming back to him having a couple fights, this reminds me, is a great segue into, I wanted to quickly talk about your game at the weekend that you, that you had.
Yeah, go for it.
So,
I'll sit here.
Oxford Stars away to Finn plays for Oxford Junior Stars, and Oxford Stars away to Solent Devils in Gosport, which is a terrible rink here. It's absolutely crap. Ice is terrible. Rink's terrible. Seats are awful. It's freezing cold. Blah blah blah. So
cold.
Everyone's miserable.
Ice rink.
Everybody's miserable to start with just playing there, players and spectators. But it was a game on International Women's Day, which I think is important to remember. And your team, and the one thing that the UK does have right about hockey here is that up until and including the U18s, guys and girls can play on the same team.
Yep.
And so you've got a couple great gals on your team, and in this game on International Women's Day, doesn't it happen that one of your players, Heather Dendy, steps up and batters 10 bells out of some guy in a proper fight? Takes her 2 minutes with style, batters some guy, and then man of the match went to Joy. Was it?
Yep.
Joy.
Yep.
And so one of the gals in your team beats someone up, and the other one gets man of the match on International Women's Day.
I mean, that's always good, right?
Perfect set. And the result wasn't brilliant. You lost on that occasion, but it was an improved performance against that team. But just a really great game to watch. And just the perfect outcome for a game of hockey to be played on International Women's Day, because everybody knows on UK Hockey Fan we are big champions of hockey being for everybody, and it's great to see that you're on a team that has guys and girls alike on it, and some talented young people there. And great goal scored by Callum Lynch from your team.
Yep.
Who's a point man, talking about Jake Muzzin and guys, you need good guys on the point. Callum Lynch, a good player, pops one in. Now, Callum's big brother, Josh, actually plays with me on the Oxford 84s. So, a nice little connection there, too.
There we go.
Anyway, we need to look at getting Cliffy on. So we've got a few more things I want to talk about here, but let's get Scott on and see what's happening.
Would you mind just, while we're on the topic of International Women's Day, would you mind just leaving it just in 1 minute while I just address?
What? Go on.
Because we will talk more about this whole coronavirus thing, because it is a big thing at the moment, right? And it's not something we can kind of glance over currently with everything that's going on. But the Women's World Championship in ice hockey has been cancelled.
Yes. Yeah, that's devastating. Devastating news. So of the things, I know that we weren't really going to get into talking about coronavirus other than it's affecting hockey and all sorts of professional sport, because we're starting to see games being cancelled because, of course, in the current climate where there's a virus being spread about, the last thing you want to do is pack a few thousand people into the same building and have them breathing all over one another. So one of the first series to fall victim to that is the women's finals have been cancelled. So yeah, no, that's bad news. Is that what you want to say about that?
That's all I want to say so far. And I know that there's a couple other things, right? But
it's devastating. But on that note, actually carrying on with this vein for another minute.
Yeah, let's go.
Somebody we've had on the show before, Rachie Cartwright, I believe, I could have this wrong, and Queen Bees, if you're listening, apologies if I got this wrong, but I noticed on Instagram that I think somebody from the team is getting married. Definitely somebody that Rachel knows is getting married, and their hen do was in Dubai. And so a whole lot of them went out there, and I think it was a good few people from the team. I could be wrong. And it looked like it was just a bunch of ladies creating chaos in Dubai for a few days. It looked hellishly fun. Anyway, we'll check in with the Queen Bees as well. Let's get Scott on.
Okay.
Cliffy's Nucks.
Hey, we've got Scott Antcliffe back with us tonight. Scott, are you there?
I am indeed. Good evening, boys.
Hey, it's so great to have you back. For regular listeners, you'll know that this section of the show is called Cliffy's Notes. Scott comes with us on pretty much every episode. He lives sort of towards the north of the country, and he really has his finger on the pulse of what's happening with the UK hockey. So he's our man on the scene for that sort of thing. Scott himself plays for a team called the Sheffield Ice Tigers, and he is being a big supporter of the Sheffield Steelers for a long time, and season ticket holder, I believe, Scott?
Yes, so season ticket holder, but previous to that, I've sort of done 12 years of media work with the team. So I worked with the team doing radio and article writing until, as you know, the demands of teaching kind of got in the way and made me just evaluate things and go back to being, air quote, normal fan now. And it's quite nice to just sit, watch and enjoy the game without the pressures of having to read into it too much, I guess, sometimes.
That's fantastic. And now I know, having watched, kept my own eye on things over the weekend, there's some great and exciting news in that department coming up. But maybe we should start with sort of a general roundup of where things are at with the season and what's happening around the Elite League.
Yep, absolutely. So right now it's what we call the business end of the season. So fixtures are in full flow. Culminating in the playoff weekend coming up about this time next month in April. So we've got roughly 3 weeks left of fixtures before the regular season ends and then the playoff weekend starts. So at the minute, teams are still battling it out. It's pretty tight in the table, but we'll go through some results and then we'll look at the table. So
awesome.
On Friday, the Belfast Giants took on the Fife Flyers. That resulted in a 3-1 win. And then that evening, the Cardiff Devils faced the Sheffield Steelers in Elite League action, resulting in a 7-3 win for the Cardiff Devils. Interestingly, those two teams met again on Sunday, but we'll go on to that in a little while. Then on Saturday, the Manchester Storm suffered a 4-1 home defeat to a resurgent Coventry Blaze. And then the Dundee Stars lost in overtime to the Glasgow Clan 4-3. And then we go to Sunday's games, and the Coventry Blaze, they win again with a 3-2 win over the Dundee Stars. And then the main game was the Challenge Cup final between the Sheffield Steelers and the Cardiff Devils. So that was down in Cardiff at the Viola Arena in Wales, in South Wales. And Cardiff, essentially, they host the Challenge Cup final, so teams are welcome to put a bid in to tender the final. And last year, for example, the final was between Belfast and Guildford, so Cardiff still hosted it. So a lot of fans are like, oh, well, they've got home advantage, and but, they make it as neutral as possible. They
it's a great rink there too. I mean, it's just world class, isn't it?
Absolutely, it's a great new facility, and teams try to have it as neutral as possible in terms of both announcers were there to introduce the teams onto the ice, the singing of the Welsh and English national anthem from Elliot Kennedy, who does the Steelers national anthem from time to time.
Oh, that's cool.
And the young lady who does the Cardiff Devils one. So both clubs very much had their own stamp on it, but without it being Cardiff focused, if that makes sense.
For sure. And what was the crowd? What was the crowd split like? Had quite a few Sheffield fans made the trip down?
Yeah, absolutely. So there were 6 coachloads of Sheffield fans with the supporters club, and then on top of that, there were all the cars and things as well. So it was 50-50, the crowd. I think it was about 1,500 fans each, because it's got a capacity of around 3,000 in Cardiff. I mean, they could have filled that twice over in terms of the number of fans.
For sure. And and for those people listening in from abroad, how long's the drive from Sheffield to Cardiff?
3 hours and 25 minutes, roughly, according to the route planner before we headed down there. So
a good old chunk of time.
A journey. Absolutely.
Fantastic. So how'd things play out?
Yeah, so the Steelers raced to a 3-0 lead. Obviously, looking back at the game on Friday against Cardiff, a lot of fans were apprehensive after suffering such a heavy defeat, and more in the manner of which they played. So they didn't play particularly well, the Steelers. At times they were, definitely on the back foot, and Cardiff piled on the pressure. But Steelers really bounced back, came out the gates flying, and with these one-off finals, it really is who turns up on the day, really.
Yep.
And almost like a coin toss. But the Steelers raced to a 3-0 lead quickly. So the Steelers scored in the first period, 7:55 into the first period. Michael Davis opened the Steelers account, and then just over a minute later, the Steelers extended the lead through Marco Valorant, who's been, an outstanding player for the Steelers this season. And then going into the second period, the Steelers were awarded a penalty shot after Brendan Connolly was hauled down on a breakaway, and so Brendan Connolly stepped up and he fired a sublime shot home, blocker side over Ben Bounds, and then Devils pulled one back midway through, so that was through Sam Jardine, defenseman. He had a shot through traffic. And then with 5 minutes left to go in the second period, Devils added the second goal of the game through Masi Marjamaki. So a little bit of a fortuitous goal there. It was a bit of a scramble, a loose puck, and it was the first one to jam it home, and it took a bit of a deflection, and there was not much Steelers netminder Thomas Duba could do about that one. So the second period was a closely fought contest. So then the third period was wide open. Steelers extended the lead to 4-2, so Michael Davis once again, he pulled one back for the Steelers, and then with just over a minute to go, Cardiff pulled netminder Ben Bounds, and they scored a third goal through Joey Haddad. So with just over a minute left, it was only a 1-goal game.
Wow.
So pretty nervy towards the end, and the final minute was a strange one because there's so many stoppages. And on top of that, there was some confusion with the scoreboard and the time. So 1 minute there was 4 seconds showing on the clock, then 2 seconds. So the final minute seemed to last about 10 minutes. So just really adding to that tension and excitement. And it was live on Premier Sports, which is obviously the Free Sports, which is a big channel over here in the UK.
Yep.
And for those fans who didn't see it, for our UK listeners, it's available to watch tomorrow evening, so Tuesday evening.
Oh, fantastic.
At 8:30. So that final it's available to watch again, 8:30. So the Steelers came away 4-3 winners, and that was the first Challenge Cup in the Elite League era for the Steelers. So we've been very successful in league campaigns and playoffs, but we've not clinched a Challenge Cup in 17 years. So that
Holy.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's been such a long wait for that one.
That's amazing.
It's been very elusive, but that piece of silverware was the Steelers' 28th piece of silverware in their history since 1991.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, I know that I realized immediately how many Steelers fans that we had that we're either following or are following us on our social media, because after that game yesterday, which I think must have finished around 6 p.m. our time or something like that.
Yep.
Our social media feeds just totally blew up about the Steelers and Steelers fans, and it's still going on to this moment. Some pretty excited and happy Steelers fans there, and it sounds like it was an incredible game.
No, absolutely. I mean, from the first puck drop to the final minute, the intensity, it felt like a Game 7 playoff game, and essentially it was. And, just the intensity, the energy in the building, the fans were just chanting non-stop all game, and it was an amazing spectacle. And I guess for anyone who was watching it on TV as a neutral, it would have been a joy to watch. And obviously for the Steelers and Cardiff fans, it was a bit of a nervy game at times, but a great spectacle still.
Yeah, fantastic.
Not only would it have been great, not only for you guys to win, but also to beat a team like Cardiff, who is renowned for being such a great team. It's just like such a great thing for the Steelers to beat them, especially after that loss against them Friday, I believe.
And at their home ice, I mean, it is just the stuff of movies, man.
Absolutely, and like you say, Finn, Cardiff recently have been just such a huge team, and with their new ownership over the last 4 or 5 years, they've really been a force to be reckoned with, and they've always been there or thereabouts, but just around them now, they've got such a strong ownership group who really put a lot of funds into them and believe in them, and with that kind of belief, it's really made them a force to be reckoned with, and particularly with a netminder like Bounds, and with the new rules regarding the number of imports reducing next year to 13 from 14, and being such an emphasis on having British players, it's only going to make someone like Ben Bounds even more of a commodity, really, and allowing, therefore, to have that extra import skater out makes a big difference to their depth in the lineup.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And as far as we know, is Bounds still starting goalie for GB?
Yes, he is, yeah. So Bounds has been the number one for a while since taking over from Stephen Murphy, really, many years ago. And Bounds is still a relatively young guy. He's a little younger than me, so I think he's around 30, 31. So I think he'll still be the GB number one for many years to come.
Fantastic. Well, that is an exciting win. So is that sort of capped off where we're at with the league at the moment?
Yeah, just one more interesting thing really to mention is I mentioned earlier, Coventry have been on such a good run. They've been really resurgent, and they have managed to creep up the table slowly and sneakily. So only a few weeks ago, they were languishing in 7th place, and their sort of fortunes were really looking negative. And now they've managed to creep up to 3rd, and so they currently sit in 3rd place with 61 points from 48 games, and just above them, with a game, Steelers have played a game more, and they've got 63 points, so only 2 points behind are the Blaze, with a game in hand on the Steelers. So they've really crept up there. And also Cardiff, at the top of the table, as we know, they've got 64 points from 46 games, so it's really in their destiny now. So teams have got roughly 6 games left. Cardiff have got 8 games, so they've got the extra games to play. So it really does look to be in Cardiff's hands, but Coventry have snuck up, and they added a netminder called CJ Mott, and he's played 24 games, and in that time, he's won 15 games. He's got 3 shutouts.
Wow.
And in the games that he's lost, there's only been 2 regulation losses. The others have come by way of either shootout losses or overtime losses. So he's really turned their fortunes around. He currently sits top of the net minding chart with a 2.52 goals against average and a 92.68 save percentage. So he's really galvanized their team and turned their form around.
That's amazing. So 6 games left, or roughly 6 games, one team with 8 games left. What's that, a couple of weeks, or is that longer?
Yep, so the season concludes at the end of March, roughly, and then it goes into the playoff quarterfinals. So the top 8 teams make it into the playoffs, so 2 teams will miss out. But even at the bottom end of the table, it's really close between the 9th position and 7th position. So basically, Glasgow and Manchester on 41 points and Dundee are on 39 points. So those teams are really going to fight it out for a playoff spot, which will be interesting. And certainly, given Glasgow's start to the season, they were sort of in the top 3, top 4 up until about October, November time, and then their form started to really dip from November onwards. So there's roughly about 3 weeks left. So still lots to play for.
Fantastic. Well, it's been an amazing weekend of hockey around the Elite League here in the UK, which is just great, and I can feel the sort of buzz and momentum building for the last few weeks of regular season here. So a great time to be watching hockey here in the UK, and a great time to be a Steelers fan.
Absolutely. Always a good time to be a Steelers fan.
I knew you were going to say that. Well, Cliffy, it's so great to have you on again, and thanks so much for going through again some of the details of that, and especially that game at the weekend, which is for me what watching hockey's all about. For moments like that, you just it's lifetime moments and that sort of thing. So, thanks again for being on the show, Scott, and we look forward to having you on the next episode.
Absolutely. My pleasure as always, guys, and I look forward to being on again.
Fantastic, Scott. Speak to you soon.
Take care, boys. Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
Wow, so great to have Scott on. I love his enthusiasm for the game, and he's so connected to the UK hockey scene. It's great to hear. And he's such a huge Steelers fan. It must have been such a great weekend for him.
No, I'm so happy that they won that game because he just deserves it, you know.
We've sort of adopted Steelers ourselves as a team to cheer for here because there isn't really one. We don't have an elite team nearby. And I've been to see a Steelers game in Sheffield and whatnot. It's absolutely awesome. The atmosphere is great. So I know that we on lots of episodes we moan and groan about how hockey just isn't quite the same here. But if you go see someone like the Steelers or Cardiff Devils or Belfast Giants, they all have proper rinks, big proper arena and whatnot, and the atmosphere they create in there, you could be just in the middle of Canada or the middle of the States or anywhere. When you're inside that building, it's like 2 hours for me of being transported back to Canada. So it's awesome and amazing. So
you've likened those kind of games to OHL games like Budweiser Gardens and London Knights. So
yeah, absolutely.
I haven't been to the Sheffield or Cardiff games. I mean, I played in Viola Arena, which was pretty fun.
Yeah.
But I've never been to watching one of those games. But
it's all packed,
yeah, you've likened it to the London Knights game, which we went and saw when we were in Canada.
Yeah.
And so I can only imagine how amazing it is to not only watch a game but also watch a big cup game like that with everyone just on edge, you know.
Yeah.
Especially being in. So Scott was saying how it's usually always held in Cardiff, right?
Yeah.
Or in Viola Arena because they always put in that bid to have it. Yeah. But for not only for Sheffield fans, because he was saying it's 50-50, but imagine the hardcore Cardiff fans who've been waiting all season for that whole thing to come, you know.
Yeah.
And just the atmosphere must have been crazy, not only for Cardiff fans because it's a nearby home game, but also for Steelers fans who've been waiting for a long time, you know.
Yeah. No, absolutely amazing. So yeah, great to have him on. Great to hear about that stuff. I'm almost onto a 3-beer podcast here.
That's pretty mad.
That is rare. Fantastic beer, provided by a place called Tap Social Brewery in Oxford, who we're hoping will become associated with our hockey team, the Oxford 84s, as well. So watch this space. You'll hear more about those guys. They're doing some great things for the community of Oxford. as well as being an amazing tap room and brewery.
I reckon. So you usually don't end up drinking 3 beers per podcast. This is pretty rare, but I feel like your thirst is being what do you call it?
Multiplied.
Multiplied by looking at Lord Stanley's mug over there.
I know. So we got the cup in here now. It's starting to feel like a proper. This new podcast suite's awesome. I think it was maybe that description of Scott going through the details of that Cardiff Sheffield game. I drank almost an entire beer there listening to that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's cool. Let's jump onto our fantasy league because things are getting interesting there.
Yeah, I've got it all brought up here.
And so people that listen regularly will know that Finn runs the UK Hockey Fam Fantasy League on the ESPN app. No plug for ESPN. It's just happened to be the one that we chose. It's free to use. All that blah 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 blah.
And you can view it now. I made a mistake when I was setting up the whole league.
Oh, right.
So this whole season we've been saying, "Oh, come and look at it." Yeah, it wasn't public. Up until about like a couple of weeks ago, but it is public now, and genuinely you can Google it and find it.
You learn something new every day, and so you can look at it now. Apparently, according to Finn, so in that league are ourselves. We each have a team, and Rachel Cartwright's in there, Scotty Antcliffe's in there, friends, family, some podcast listeners are in there, and it's been a sort of a one-horse race for most of the season.
Yeah.
Elliot is a guy who listens to the podcast, and he's been out in front quite a ways for most of the season, and we thought we'd never catch up. And in fact, we started out really poorly with you and me, Finn, at the bottom and second bottom for ages. Until we finally sort of figured it out a bit more and got to grips with it and started playing a bit more properly, and we clawed our way back up the table. Now, we mentioned on the last episode that the trade deadline was looming, and the trade deadline sort of mirrors that of the real NHL one. And so we decided to sort of chuck all our eggs into one basket to see if we could catch up with Elliot, who was running away with it at the top. And I should mention Rachel Cartwright's doing fantastic as well, and she's been impossible to catch all league also. And anyway, so we sort of made a super team between us, and we agreed that we would let one team die, and we'd really
let one team die.
We'd really run with the other team and see if we could catch up to the top. And so we sort of assembled this super team. The team's Toronto United. We chose that one because I was ahead by a couple points at the time.
No, literally, you were 10 points ahead of me.
10 points. And so anyway, we've been piling up some points, and we're closing in. We're so close on second now. How many points are there?
I've got it here, and we're 4 points behind.
So that's Rachel Cartwright of the Brack McQueen Bees is in second place. We're 4 points behind. So whether we'll catch her or not, I don't know. But both those teams are closing ground on Elliot as well. But we're running out of road.
We're only 500 points away. Yeah. I'm not even joking. He is literally so we're on.
Now, having said that, we're averaging between 20 and 35 points a night at the moment.
I mean, no one's got a bigger night than I had on my other team. So on my other team, I had a night where both Kucherov and Panarin got 15 points themselves.
All the guys that we didn't put on the super team.
No, we did.
Oh, we put them on the super
team?
team?
Yeah, you got Kucherov, Panarin, and Marner. They all had 10-point nights, fancy-wise.
We need them. Pile them in.
I had a 50-point night.
Pile in the points.
No, here
we come.
We're catching up here, and I was just gonna do a little overview of maybe the top 3 guys in our team currently.
Okay, all right.
Because I mean,
it is a crazy.
It's a crazy team, isn't it? So we'll just look at total points over the season. So we'll do a couple from each category. So we have forward wise, we have the highest number as being not Axpectra. I don't know what I'm on about. Artemi Panarin.
Yep.
So the guy I traded over because I'm just such a legend like that. So Artemi Panarin is in the lead on our team with 242 fantasy points. And then in second and third forwards, you've got Austin Matthews with 228 and Nikita Kucherov with 226. And then for defensemen, our highest defenseman currently is Tony DeAngelo with 140. And who else we got here? 135 with Alex Pietrangelo. So those are our highest defensemen. And then our goalies, we have.
You said you were going to talk about the top 3 people.
Yeah, top 3 people of each cat. No, I'm joking. No. I'll just do 2 goalies here. So our 2 top goalies are Andrei Vasilevsky and Tuukka Rask, but there's no surprise there, right?
No.
Tampa Bay and Boston Bruins. But yeah, so our fantasy team's looking pretty sweet currently.
Well,
it's going well.
It might be too little, too late, but we're going to make a sprint for the finish. Right. So we were going to talk about coronavirus.
I love that.
We touched on it earlier, and so I don't really love it.
You know, I'm not a fan of it myself either.
It's it's a terrible thing, and I can't tell from one minute to the next. And this is getting into politics, and I don't really want to get into politics on the hockey podcast.
Really?
But from one minute to the next, I can't tell whether I should be terrified and really upset about it, or not care at all. And I'm trying to steer somewhere for the middle.
It's portrayed really weird because they the one day they said, oh, it's super severe, and the next day they're like, oh, it's kind of mild and don't worry about it. It's like they really like fluctuate on the severity of how they're portraying it, you know?
Yeah.
Like one day they'll come in and they'll be like, oh shoot, buy everything, hand sanitizer, get a bit of that on you.
Yeah.
Next day they're like, guys, come on, like six per person or whatever, and calm down a bit.
Well, I don't know. At one moment you got, I don't know, like double-digit million people locked in Italy. And over here in England, people just high-fiving and buying up all the
chilling.
toilet rolls.
Refs at my game.
Oh, yeah, the refs at your game really weirdly. So the refs at Finn's hockey game, when they do the little parade at the end where everybody goes around shaking one another's hands, here in the UK, they tend to shake hands with the opposing team. Then you go and shake hands with the coaches, or like fist bump the coaches or whatever. And then you do the same with the refs. And the refs at the end of this game were prepared. They were corona prepared. And they just stuck their elbows up. Like they tucked their arms in like a chicken wing.
just
stuck their elbow in the air. Like, hey, you can touch my elbow and that's as far as it's going here because none of you greasy buggers have covered yourself in hand sanitizer.
Recently.
So, we're not getting the corona off you guys. As if sweating all over one another and everything
during
else.
the game. It's going to do
2 hours
anything.
wasn't going to do. Anyway, so but the point of this is that obviously it could have a serious effect on certainly professional sport if things start to bite. So they haven't really started to get desperate here in the UK, and they're even less so in the US and Canada. But when it comes, it will come hard and fast, because that's what's happened to the likes of China and Italy and places like that, where one minute it seemed like it was under control and the next minute it was like totally out of control. So what about masks in the NHL? What are you saying that you were telling me about something earlier today?
Oh,
in a couple of seasons or something like that?
Oh yeah, it's cages or face masks in the NHL.
Oh.
So this is a thing that's been brought up recently.
So this is totally unrelated to
No, yeah. I put face masks because I know because they wouldn't use a cage. I don't think that when they were.
But that's not what I'm talking about. You earlier today we were
What'd I
talking about
say?
something. You said in a couple seasons from now, people will be wearing.
No, it was.
This is about face masks.
Not about corona face masks. No, it's not the same thing. That's not where I was going there.
So we're leaving coronavirus and moving completely on to a new thing.
We might as well finish it off quick and then we'll.
Well, I don't think there's anything more to say.
Completely derailed or whatever. But you know what they're gonna do if it does spiral out of control with sports, right?
Well, they're just gonna start. Didn't the suggestion is they'll play games with no
empty stadiums?
Yeah, empty stadiums.
So they'll just broadcast it, and I'm gonna guess that they probably end up broadcasting it for free. Because what else can you do, right?
Well, I don't know. I wouldn't say that too.
I mean, Gary Bettman. He's a bit of a.
Say Bettman will have his wallet will be pulsating in his pocket if people start talking about giving away.
There's not 500 billion in here. What the?
Yeah. Anyway, so right, let's park coronavirus.
And let's go
come
face
back
masks.
to the face masks.
Okay, so the reason I put face masks, by the way, is because when you see NHL players when they break their nose or something, so they can't actually wear a non-covered face like on their helmet.
Yeah.
They have to have it covered. They use fishbowls, not like cages, which is why I didn't put face cage.
Right. Okay. I don't know. I don't know what any of that means, but carry on.
Okay. So anyway, there was an incident the other night. Johnny Boychuk, I believe.
Right.
He got a skate in the face.
That's right.
And he had 90 stitches in his eye.
So this is the second
his
nasty
eyelid.
skate to face.
So earlier we had Brendan Perlini.
That's right. Skate.
And then we had now we've got Johnny Boychuk, who almost lost his eye.
Yeah.
And that's when it starts to get scary
That
because
is nasty.
I mean,
'Cause the skate can get up under your visor. These things happen as a freak incident. Do you know, I watched a thing on Instagram just yesterday, which was awkward puck moments. Have you seen this?
Where it gets caught in cages and stuff. And
Gets caught up under people's visors.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
actually happened. So they show a clip of a guy who's just coming in, routine check or whatever, and the two guys poke the puck at the same time.
And he goes
And they're
up.
looking around like, where's the puck gone? And it's literally it's under his visor, covering his eye like an eye patch,
Yeah,
stuck
yeah.
in there. And I thought, oh my God, that must be a complete one-off. And then they splice together like 4 other times that it happened to somebody
Yeah,
else.
yeah.
So,
Or where it gets caught in like
these
people's
things
like
happen,
equipment
right?
and stuff.
Things get up under there.
But it's things like this is where the people would be thinking about making face masks at least compulsory for the younger people, right? So when you have new draft picks and stuff, when they're coming, when you got rookies coming in, and especially when you're starting to spend like millions and millions on people, you don't want them like getting their eyes cut out and stuff, you know.
You would definitely don't want them getting their eyes cut
But
out.
I mean, at least we could see the visors being made compulsory, because you still have guys going around there with no visor at all either, just a helmet. And
Is there much of that?
I mean, not much, but that's the point, is that they could try and at least phase that
I'm trying
in
to think
as
of
people.
anybody. Just Polak doesn't wear a visor, does he?
Pollock, Getzlaff, Matt Martin, like people like that, you know.
The old guy.
The guys that will be on the, which is why I'm saying if they phase it out
Tough
a bit,
nuts.
yeah. If they start to phase that out and make at least visors compulsory, so at least if there's a higher chance of someone getting their eye cut out if they don't have a visor at all, right?
That's right.
Or again, a puck in the face where it could really damage your eye. Like you can get fractured eye sockets and stuff, which mess up your vision. People's careers have been ended because they got pucks in the face and stuff.
For sure. It's a dangerous game.
I mean, obviously, but this is things that have been brought up recently, especially with the 2 skates in the face.
That's right. Accidents, tend to bring out these things. I just noticed, just literally breaking news, which is topical here, that Italy, we just mentioned, was on lockdown for the northern part of Italy, which includes Venice, and it was a load of people, like 10 million people or something like that. And just in the last couple of minutes, they have extended the coronavirus measures to the entire country.
They're all in lockdown.
The entire country of Italy is on lockdown now. So, things are not getting better. They're only getting worse. Anyway, I thought I should mention that.
Fair enough.
So, yeah, face masks. I mean, who knows? The rules here are basically, I believe, if you're under 18, you have to wear a cage.
Full face, yeah.
And if you're over 18, you have to wear at least a visor. And if you're over a particular age, you don't have to wear anything at all, which only includes some real old duffers. For example, myself. So if you were born after a particular or before a particular year, and that of course is getting narrower and narrower as those of us that have been playing for a billion years. But I don't. I am I'm old enough that I don't have to wear a visor at all, although I choose to. But that's only because I've been playing now for 46 consecutive seasons.
That's not too bad.
And knees and hips still working. Anyway, anything else to say on that?
No, not much more on face masks. It's just something that got brought up, right?
Yeah,
But another thing with discussions in the NHL. The GM meeting was recent. So they had the annual GM's meeting.
Yeah, any nuggets come out of that?
Big thing that they were going to discuss was the emergency goalie thing. Because people, as soon as Dave Ayres came out, it was everywhere where GMs were getting cross because they're I don't want to ruin like points on a game. Like just call the game off or whatever, and we'll come back and get a proper goalie when we can.
Yeah.
Because if you
get sour grapes, though, don't you think?
No, yeah. But I mean, so the end of what do you call it? End up of that whole thing was that they decided to keep it because Dave Ayres won. If Dave Ayres had lost, it would have been completely different. And
it's an exciting thing. I think it never ever happens, right? It's very rare that the emergency goalie's ever called in, and the last couple of times it's turned into a great and amazing story. And and that story reaches way outside of just people that follow hockey, right?
Exactly.
So you're actually attracting the attention of more people should it happen, and it never happens anyway.
Exactly. But one thing that has been also rumored is that, or an idea that's been put out is that they don't put someone who's 40 and had a kidney transplant and has underlying health issues and stuff that like Dave Ayres. I know it's a cool thing, But if you were going to have a proper emergency goalie, it would have to be, like people were saying, it should be someone with actual proper,
just a couple
still playing experience, like someone like 25.
But he does, right? And that's the thing is that Dave Ayres is still a training goalie with the Marlies and the Leafs.
I think the point was more competitive, but at a high level, still playing competitive.
What's
right?
the point of that, right?
You get a college goalie.
Goalie's even going to agree to do that, to just be, hey, we want you to just be sort of ring fenced as the emergency goalie, even though you're a fully competitive, active goalkeeper, a goaltender. It's like who's going to want to do that? Why would anyone want to do that?
Because you get to go to the Leafs game for free.
If you were good enough to be competitive still, you'd surely be playing somewhere for a team.
Yeah. And like a college goalie. If you're like a university or college
who'd
goalie,
even do that? So if you were good enough, so what they're saying is they want someone professional enough and of a professional level enough that they could play competitive hockey. And if you were that good, you'd be playing competitive hockey.
No, as in someone playing competitive hockey for a university, say, just sits at a Leafs game, and if they ever have to be put in, then they get put in.
Dave Ayres is better than a university hockey goalie.
Not necessarily.
Well, you don't know, right?
I mean, exactly.
Who's to be the judge of that?
Yeah, I mean,
it just doesn't make any sense. I don't think that they could ever. I don't think they could ever change the rules. I think the rules perfect the way it is, and
just have some guy that can play.
It's probably one of the stories of the year for me. If
I mean,
not for a few years.
It was definitely cool, and I'm not saying anything against it. I'm just saying
you hate emergency goalies.
No, I love Dave Ayres, man.
You love Bettman.
Hey,
you've got that I love Bettman tattoo now.
Nah, I can't be supporting that dude.
Things are going to turn ugly here. Let's get out of here. Anything else to talk about?
Let's got a couple more
come on, then.
statistic things for around the NHL. So Mika Zibanejad scored 5 goals in a game.
Wow.
And they ended up winning the game 6-5.
Holy. 5 goals in a game?
He scored 4 goals.
Oh.
And then
you couldn't even hold that stack in your hand with the little bit of tape on it and the day of the goal.
I mean,
the date
Matthews could, but I mean, he's got big hands, right?
Well, he held the 4. Was it 4?
4 debut. So Zibanejad scored 4 in regulation, and then another one of the I think it was Panarin scored the other one to make it 5-5, and then they went into overtime. He scored the OT winner as well.
Wow,
that's pretty good.
That is a good game.
I'm envious to whoever has him in our fantasy team.
I mean, I rarely score 5 goals in a game now.
Rarely. I mean, sometimes you score. Sometimes you score 6 and 7 sometimes, but 5 is a rarity nowadays, right?
The last time I scored 2 in a game, years ago. Anyway,
and I just got one last thing: is Draisaitl hits 100 points.
Oh yeah. That's
so
cool.
That's pretty good, seeing as he's only played around. He's probably played around like 68, 69 games.
Yeah, that's excellent.
And he's still got a good at least 15 to go.
He's a great player.
No, he's played great, especially with McDavid out for the last few weeks at least. Everyone says that. I mean, McDavid's McDavid, right? He's got the reputation of just carrying everyone and everything.
He's been a bit of a ghost this year, though. I barely heard his name said.
Because he's injured.
Yeah.
That could be why.
But I mean, even for the rest of the season.
Other than when he completely undressed the whole Leafs defense and scored some crazy goal when we were in Canada watching, and I just felt sad.
Yeah, well, that was.
It's great that I know it's not great to say that McDavid's injured. That it's great that way, but it's almost a good thing for people. No, not the fact he's injured. It's a good thing that McDavid isn't as talked about, as you said.
Yeah.
I know it is because he's injured, but it's great because he's not talked about or
I don't think that's great.
No. But for other players to show that it's not just McDavid that makes them good; it's themselves.
I don't begrudge the guy any fame that he gets or any press that he gets.
Oh no. I'm not saying that. I'm saying so. For example, Draisaitl, because he's on McDavid's line usually.
Yeah, that's true.
People say Draisaitl
playing in his shadow all the time.
Exactly. When you play with a great player, it's a high chance you'll get loads of points or you'll at least look good, right?
Yeah.
But when you got guys like Nugent Hopkins and Draisaitl playing with a guy like McDavid, and then still perform even when he's out. I mean, it shows that it's not just McDavid.
Yeah,
it is actually good.
Time to shine, right? Okay, cool.
But yeah, I think that's pretty much it for us.
Right, awesome. A couple of quick shout outs then.
Yeah, let's go.
So as ever, we're back fairly intensely using our sports screen, which is this amazing training aid. If you play hockey, it also is great for baseball, softball, lacrosse. It's a screen that comes down to protect a wall, an inside or outside wall in your house, or a window, or a garage door, or whatever else. It's fantastic. We've got one. The people from Sports Screen, it's a Canadian company. They're really great people as well. Check them out on on social media or online, the sports screen. You should have one if you don't already. If you're serious about hockey, you need one of these things. Also, bionic skate blades.
Yes, my favorite skate blades. I know it's usually me the one that bangs on about them, but I just love these blades.
Yeah, I
and
love them too.
I had them shopping in Canada, so they're fresh for the season.
From Herm Sports, by the way, in London.
Yes, great place, and they hooked us up with our really nice
amazing
Pro
Pro
Stock
Stock sticks.
But bionic skate blades. I just love these blades, and they just work so well for me, you know.
Yeah.
And they're
fast.
Just they're
Fast.
the best blades I've had.
And I've noticed that the skate blade market is getting busy. So before it used to be you got the default blades that came with your skates, either Bauer or CCM and whatever there is on there, and then step blades appeared and they had colors and whatnot, but it was a pretty limited field. But I've noticed more and more companies cropping up and having a go at this. But Bionic by far, and we've tried a few, believe me, Bionic by far are the fastest blades out there. If you want to be fast, you need a pair of Bionic blades. Also a Canadian company and a great bunch of people. Check them out. It's Bionic with a Y, I believe. Find them on social media or on the interwebs. For those of us here in the UK, you can buy them in the shops. I've seen them in Athletes All-Star Sports. I was going to say Athlete's Choice, which is a shop that I used to work for in Victoria, BC.
Do they sell them there? Who knows?
I spent thousands of hours sharpening skates in Athlete's Choice in Victoria, BC, owned by a good friend of mine, Snapper. I was going to say All-Star Sports in Swindon, owned by a good guy, Ian Clark. They've got Bionic blades in there. It's a great shop, great bunch of people, really great with a pair of skates, as well as everything else that you need. And I've seen them in Puck Stop.
Yep.
Which is where we got our setup and profile by the good folks at Puck Stop, family-owned, huge hockey company up in Sheffield. Love to go in there if we can, and if not, they're online, and we've ordered loads of stuff from them online. They've never, ever let us down.
No, yeah, I got my new neck shirt from there.
That's right, and when we couldn't find one anywhere, they came up with one in a day for us, so it was brilliant. Puck Stop in Sheffield. They're great, cross-check clothing. Some good friends of ours. We were lucky enough to meet up with them at a GB game last year, making some great stuff. They moved into making, maybe they always did, I don't know, but hockey kit, full kit now. I was talking to Ryan from there a couple of days ago, and they're doing full kit now, short covers, socks, jerseys, the lot, as well as some really cool T-shirts and hoodies and all that sort of stuff too. So cross-check clothing. And they just always remind me of their counterpart in Canada, that I think they're a very similar company with a similar ethos and a similar feel, and that's Beer League Republic.
Yep.
I love their stuff, and they're such great people too, and they have a great feed on Instagram. If you're that way inclined, check out Beer League Republic on there. They're just a great bunch of people making great stuff, T-shirts, hoodies, all sorts there, and they've been super good to us. So check them out as well. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. We've blabbed on long enough. Oh, True Hockey, of course, as always. They've been great to us from the start of us really getting back into hockey in the past few years. Sorted us out with pants, gloves, sticks, hats, T-shirts, hoodies, the lot. They've been great.
No, yeah, it's been amazing.
So anyway, on that note, we should get off. People will be, if you're listening and you're on your way and you're commuting into work, you must be getting near work, or however else you're managing to kill the time by listening to us. We'll let you go. We'll be back again in a week's time. Lots of hockey happening, lots of big things. Let's hope coronavirus calms down and
chills out a bit.
doesn't calm, or it doesn't destroy hockey and all the sports and everything else. Anyway, we will be back next week.
Yep.
All right. Thanks for listening, as always. Check us out on social media. Tell your friends to follow.
YouTube.
We're on YouTube. We're experimenting with YouTube. If you want to see our ugly mugs live on YouTube, check out our YouTube channel. As always, we have a website. Just search UK Hockey Fam, and you'll find a sickening amount of stuff come up in the old Google box. So anyway, for us, that's it for this week.
Yeah.
See you next time.
See you guys.
You can name is the good old